this podcast topic is one we've talked a fair bit about this season, and probably one we talk about a fair bit about most years, this team, because they're always on the radar. And I'm talking about the LA Lakers. And suddenly they got a bit of life, right? They hit 500. And by the way, you backed them not to make the playoffs. Yeah. I don't think that's, I don't know. They're going to have a disaster 5 games, I think, 5 game losing streak to slide out. I think they're looking like they're going to make the play in here, whether that's, you know, sixth or sorry, seventh or 10th, that's probably the question. But they hit 500. They lost today. They're now game below 500. And LeBron came back today, came off the bench. I don't know if you noticed that. LeBron came off the bench today. It could be a whole nother topic in itself. But my take here is for you to, for us to have a chat about is even if they make the play-ins or when they make the play-in, and even if they advance into the playoffs, let's assume they win those 2 playing games or the 1 playing game that they have to face. I feel their biggest link, okay, their weakest link, their weakest link in the LA Lakers. It's not to do on the floor, but it's to do on the bench. I think Darvin Ham is their weakest link. And he lets down the LA Lakers when those games become close and when those games become must wins. He doesn't seem to really get the results this year. I don't know what you've been watching and what you've been seeing.
It's a good point about, I guess, LeBron coaches. So LeBron coaches have always went through this level of scrutiny, and we never really know if they're very good or not. So Mike Brown is really only now getting a chance in Sacramento to prove that he does have some coaching prowess. Eric Spoelstra, there was all that narrative about him being no good, and then obviously he's had the continued success post, LeBron's departure. I think Luke Walton didn't fare too well in this scenario. And Frank Vogel did, but didn't. I'm not really too sure. I think this is just the consequence of LeBron teams is that the star power or the dictation over that kind of prevents the coach from having as much impact as they want. Um, and then you look at the way that they're losing these games, like, games to Orlando. Orlando sneaks a lot of wins off people's, but that is not a team, especially at this time of the season, you want to be losing to. And the Rockets as well. Like these are like surely that's a personnel talent thing. Surely that's a Darvin Ham could have had a nap the whole game and they really should have still won that one.
I think that's the you referenced some of those games where they played teams that aren't in the playoff race at the moment. They probably should have won those games. And I feel there's a lot of, and I don't have any on my screen to reference specifically, but throughout the course of the season, this is Darvin Ham's first year. And that's probably his saving grace here, that he's been given that, extra sort of, space to go. This is his first year, rookie head coach, tough gig in the Lakers, tough gig having LeBron and AD, injuries and so on and so forth. Westbrook, now he's out of town, obviously, but having to deal with his personality, his playing style as well. So he's had all these chances, I guess. But there's the continued sort of observation that there's these close games that they lose against teams that they shouldn't necessarily lose to. And then he comes out and he makes post-game comments like the energy wasn't there and so on and so forth. He makes other comments like, oh, it's on the coach. There was one that I read, and again, we talked about fake news. So I don't know who the source was or not, whether it's fake news or not. But, he's sort of depreciating about, himself, like the dumb-off coach didn't make the right, decisions here towards the end of the game. So that's why we lost it. So it's putting on him. But it's sort of that sort of his sort of, just the way he sort of styles his conversations, I think sort of really doesn't endear me to a coach here that actually puts his hands up when he needs to, then goes, hey, this was on me, and also takes charge when he needs to. And I see there's very little of that.
I guess the reason why I'm not willing to throw him under the bus is Frank Vogel essentially had the exact same issue, but he had won a championship with that group. And I think personnel is a really big component of the Lakers' success or even LeBron team success. Ever since really leaving Cleveland the first time, LeBron has had ridiculously constructed teams around him specifically. And, they really bogged themselves into some contract stuff with the Westbrook thing. And, they're throwing together a team to make the All-Star push, which is 26 or 27 games. Like, it was always a tough mark. And then LeBron gets injured. And I don't know if you've read any of these reports, maybe it's fake news as well, but like he had a tendon issue supposedly and a partial tear, but he saw the LeBron of foot doctors and he's fine. So Um, it's just a weird, it's just a weird vibe over there, right? It's a weird team. You're talking about LeBron, who feels like even 20 years in could always be in contention for the finals, and then Anthony Davis, who for some reason just can't string together games, and some decent role players around them. Like it's a team that doesn't look sensible, right? Like you think about the names on the paper, in the same bracket, they're just as good as Minnesota, and I think we'd look at the names on the Lakers squad and say they should be better than Minnesota. The Mavericks really are in hot contention with them, but we'd say that they're better than the Mavericks. Like when you look at this roster, they're a better team than they have performed now for several years. I think you could change the coach. I mean, you could have no coach, and I just think that the Lakers will be treading this 500 water. Um, I don't know. I don't know, and I'm kind of mad now that we're talking about the Lakers yet again when I have been very adamant for a while now that like it's just nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. If they make the playoffs, fine, they get bounced. And if they beat someone, fine, they lose in the second round. Like we're going to be disappointed with whatever the Lakers do because we expect them to win a championship for no logical reason. And LeBron's legacy is in jeopardy. And Darvin Ham has to go. And is Anthony Davis ever going to be healthy? And it's the same cycle of conversation around the Lakers. Like I'd much rather. I enjoyed our conversation last week about Charlotte because at least we were talking about something that just wasn't talked to death about.
Yo, this is Two Guys With Spare Time. I'm Faz, this is Nick. You're probably a basketball fan like us, so hopefully you can throw us an assist in giving our video a like and subscribing to our channel.
And if you got thoughts, feelings, or even some suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And thank you for using your spare time to watch us in our spare time.